I am Fernand, a son of Zofia, but my ties there are in the past. Imagine me taking orders from some wretched farm child. Not likely.
Fernand is going to be this month's Grand Hero Battle Unit. A former member of the Deliverance, Fernand decides to join forces with Berkut after Clive ends up working with Alm. Much to my dismay, Fernand is going to be another heroic rogue Lance Cavalier. He has 45 HP, 41 attack, 26 speed, 32 defense, and 23 resistance. Now, another slow free-to-play Lance Cav doesn't exactly hype me up, but Fernand has some very interesting traits he can make his own. For one, he comes with 3 super boons in attack, speed, and resistance. 41 base attack is insanely impressive for any kind of Cavalier. He only loses to Legendary Lelina and ties Legendary Sigurd and Selef, all while having the highest base attack out of any Lance Cav. Fernand actually beats Zeke from the banner, who would have taken the title for himself. Don't get it twisted, that 41 attack with a super boon definitely is Fernand's standout trait. As for his 26 base speed, it's not exactly impressive, but if you do have any inkling of wanting to invest in it, then the super boon can help. 32 defense is fine, but not that high for this type of Cavalier. 23 res is kind of expected, although like speed, if you want to invest in it, then the res super boon can help. The reason Fernand's speed and defense and res are on the lower side, especially compared to our previous Lance Cav Orson, is because he throws some of that into his HP. Besides Merlinus, who's an outlier, Fernand will tie with the other highest base HP Cavaliers. All in all, Fernand is certainly not bringing anything super outrageous for a heroic grail Lance Cav. His high base attack should definitely be taken advantage of if you're looking to differentiate him from the giant pool of competition. For his weapon, Fernand comes with the Instant Lance Plus. This 14-might inheritable lance grants plus for attack and defense and prevents a false follow-up attack when initiating. Instant Lance is not a new weapon, but it was only previously on Melody, who is a 5-star only unit. Fernand gives access to this rare weapon, and his main trait is that follow-up prevention. Instant Lance is basically a sturdy impact weapon with less defense, although you can make it up with the stat refine. It holds some good value for Cavaliers because they cannot run sturdy impact normally, and it's a pure player phase weapon which takes advantage of their 3 movement. Follow-up prevention can be great for slower units like Fernand who want to initiate but are worried about getting doubled back. It's definitely a nice tool for survivability, but it can be countered by some common scenarios such as quick riposte users who outspeed Fernand, as well as any common no follow. Still, if you're looking for a weapon based on player fight survivability, then Instant Lance can provide the opportunity. For the rest of his base kit, Fernand's not bringing anything new or exciting. Blazing Thunder makes sense for his high attack, but it's really only here so that they can pre-charge it on the Grand Hero Battle. It's going to be extremely hard to charge it up normally, and Cavs do not have special Spyro. For his B skill, Fernand shows his distaste for Alm by bringing Sword Breaker. It gives a follow-up attack against sword units while preventing one of their follow-ups, and technically speaking, follow-up prevention effects do stack. If Fernand would initiate on a sword user with quick repose, Instant Lance would cancel out quick repose, and then Sword Breaker will prevent their follow-up if Fernand loses the speed check. For the enemy phase, Sword Breaker can still give Fernand a double and prevent a double against sword units, but there are some issues that with this plan I'll talk about later. Last, his C skill is going to be Threaten, Attack, and Defense 2. With the introduction of the Menace C skills, dual Threatens have risen very high in terms of fodder value. I don't think the Threatens are that great on Cavaliers because their attack range is way farther than the 2 space effect, but this can work in situations where the enemy is advancing first. Overall, you can see the ideal behind Fernand's base kit. He mitigates his low speed stat with a weapon that prevents follow-ups, and he has Sword Breaker to crush units like Alm. In terms of merging, if you keep his neutral nature, Fernand will gain plus 1 HP, attack, and defense. However, this guy has 3 super boons in attack, speed, and res, with each of those being quite valuable if you want to invest in any of those stats. I would definitely consider using Fernand for his high attack out of the box, and at plus 10 merges with the attack super boon, he can hit 49 attack without a weapon. Even without merges, it is still something we can take advantage of quite easily. As much as I like not having to set up a new chart, we just reviewed our previous slow Lance Cavs thanks to Fallen Orson from last month. Fernand versus Orson is quite interesting since they'll be our 2 top up-to-date Cavs. Fernand will have more HP and attack, but Orson has more speed and defense. Orson also has his unique Bereft Lance, which requires a super solo playstyle, but it does boost his attack and defense even more. If we take into account boons, both have res super boons, and Fernand's speed super boon will only put him 1 behind Orson. If you want more info about Fallen Orson, you can check out my video from last month since he literally just came out. I would say if you want to do a solo build, then consider Orson with his Bereft Lance. Orson may also be better with some investment in speed, but if you're going to go all out, then either can do. If you want to stack defense, then obviously Orson is the choice. For Fernand to make him stand out the most from this huge pool of Lance Cavs, it's going to be taking advantage of his incredible base attack. Maybe if more HP base skills were introduced, then Fernand could use them, but generally speaking his defenses are on the weaker side. If you want to go full tank, Conrad has a huge res advantage over everyone else here. Deathknight has his own weapon, and the same goes for Clive and Recruit. Regardless, if you like Fernand, the good news is that he has a huge amount of inheritable lances to choose from, and a lot of them are free to play obtainable. Because I still have this slide from last month, we might as well update it to continue to showcase the wide imbalance of Lance Cavaliers. We now have freaking 10 free to play heroic Grail Lance Cavs to choose from, with many more summonable options. Moving on, let's talk about some builds. First off, Fernand can use the instant lance just fine if you want to protect them from getting doubled. You can just go all in on one big damage hit with multiple death blow skills on top of Fernand's high attack. With Swordbreaker, he should destroy most of those sword units with 2 high attack hits, and this should work for general PvE enemies. However, Swordbreaker is definitely not good enough for reliable PvP countering. So many Swordmaster infantry units have or run no follow-up. Not only does no follow-up completely negate Swordbreaker, but it also negates Instant Lance's follow-up prevention. That is not great if you're thinking of bringing Fernand as a basic sword unit counter for something like Arena Assault. Obviously not everyone has no follow-up, but it's an incredibly common skill now. If you want to sort of mitigate this issue, you can boost Fernand's defense stat when initiating. Instead of death blow skills, you can swap in sturdy blow, and you can refine the instant lance for +4 defense. That does add up, since instant lance would be giving +8 defense total, extra +5 HP, and double sturdy blow skills grant another +8 defense. If you're going to go for survivability, then you can also use something like Drag Back to break up enemy formations, and Attack Smoke can help with the enemy phase. If you're looking for more mixed phase usage, Brazen Attack and Defense could work, or Attack and Defense solo as Sacred Seals. Not a lot of budget mixed phase A skills out there, but you could run Attack and Defense push 3 or Attack and Defense 4. If you did want Fernand to double foes without speed investment, then obviously Quick Repose is almost always needed. If you have more premium skills, then things get more interesting and fun. Instant Lance would love more mixed phase stat boosters since it does nothing for your enemy phase. The new catch skills are neat for cavalry units, and the new menace skills are just really strong when they land. If you want to balance out Fernand's res stat, you could bring res versions of these skills. Attack and res solo, a res refine for the lance, can give +10 extra res, although that's not really going to save you from super strong mages. Something that I think works well with Instant Lance is the Near Trace B skills. Fernand can initiate and at least get one movement to retreat or reposition thanks to Kanto. If you want to stop slightly faster Quick Repose units while using Instant Lance, then Fernand can run speed skills to ensure he doesn't lose that speed check. It gives him more chances to double in general, and you can save him from a fatal double on the enemy phase. He may not be super healthy, but staying alive is more important. For an example build with Instant Lance, you could run Attack and Speed Catch, so Spare or Attack and Speed Solo. Low Attack and Speed could be nice, and Attack Smoke still works very nicely here. We do have some neat offensive lances if you want to go all in on speed. The Springy Lance from this year was on Spring Minerva, who was the 4-star focus unit, but we also have the Lofty Blossoms from the Bride of Tanith in the Divine Code shop. At this point, we're just trying to utilize Fernand's super high attack stat to hopefully score a double. That said, there's a much scarier way to do this. The good old Brave Lance bypasses a lot of issues. It always hits twice on initiation, so we don't have to play the follow-up game, and you can very easily stack straight attack on top of Fernand's attack super boon. Brave Lance with double death blow attack and low attack and defense is nasty. You can tack on the menace skills for even more damage. Now, something that I have used before on my plus attack +10 Ross is Heavy Blade 4 with low attack and defense and a Brave Axe. Fernand has more attack than Ross, so I do think he can pull it off, and it's an interesting build when it all comes together. You can proc 2 cooldown specials in 2 hits, or you can go for things like Gale Force. If you wanted to do a speed focused Brave build, the Ninja Yari is a good option, but it's much harder to get. Like Orson, Fernand can also go for other inheritable lances like Guild Fork or Courtly Candle. Both of those boost attack and defense. If you want a solo build, Flowing Lance is an option. So should you promote Fernand to 5 stars? Well, his biggest standout is that 4-1 base attack. It is the highest for any Lance Cav, and there are ways to utilize it well, especially with the super boon. Fernand's 45 base HP is solid, while his defense and res are both okay, though he does have a res super boon. In terms of his base kit, Instant Lance is the most unique part. A mini sturdy impact weapon is neat for player phase survivability, and you can refine it for more stats. Blazing Thunder and Swordbreaker are nothing new. Threat and Attack and Defense 2 can work for Fernand, but generally it's just really awkward on a unit who has a 4 space attack range. This is going to be another way to get hold of it though if you wanted to inherit the new Attack and Defense Menace C skill. Overall, Fernand does focus on attack, but his general stat line is still similar to Fallen Orson, who we just got. Instant Lance can do work, but it still has counters, and as mentioned, not even Swordbreaker is the safest counter for a budget unit, since so many sword units have no follow-up in their build. Personally, I think Fernand would be a better Brave Lance user with the super basic attack stacking build. He could run a Slaying Spear for armor foes, but I do worry about not being able to double some of these incredibly tanky armor units. However, because of how Fallen Edelgard works, it is possible for Fernand to finish her off with quicker pose and some attack buffs even at no merges. If nothing else, a super simple Slaying Spirit plus QR build might be worth having just in case you need a counter for Green Assault or something. Fernand can survive a fully active plus 10 plus attack Fallen 80 and barely kill her with 2 hits, and this is at no merges with attack and defense push 3 and another plus 4 attack however you want to get it. We're at the point where anyone who can kill this monster has some value. With that said, there's no shortage of heroic grail Lance Cavaliers out there, and Fernand is being added to the pile. He's not that different from Orson stat-wise, but depending on the build or role you want them to have, they can each have their own uses. That's all I have for this video. Someone please save me from talking about slow Lance Cavs, and I'll see you next time.